Yeah, thank you for the introduction. Yeah, I'm Jay. I work as a head of data engineering at Avas. And today's topic, before I jump into the topic, I would like to go across and see how many of you working on analytics projects, some or the other way. Okay. And are you guys working in a discovery phase or in, how is that? Are you guys, how many of them already in production? Or, okay, good. Very few, okay. Thank you. It gives me some idea of what can, so rest of them is exposed to big data or something. At least that's how I assume. Okay, let me get started. Why analytics data warehouse today we need it? Because I think first the fundamental thing we need to understand is that why it is different from traditional data warehouse. Today, if you know that in traditional data warehouse, we have worked for a couple of decades, and we know, at least in bigger companies, it's based on my experience with the bigger companies across banking, retail, and healthcare across the globe, in US primarily. So my assumption is that most of the big companies, at least to some extent, they achieved in integrating data from in-premise data source systems. So that's a fair assumption I made based on the bigger companies. If it could be different from smaller companies. So that said, the idea why analytics data warehouse is different. So that's the point I would like to make. I think the questions today we always ask for a purpose, right? Why do you need an analytics data warehouse? I would say why not? So that's how I start. So why not? Because it's meant for some other purposes, totally different purposes, right? The integrating is a purpose. When I say integration of a data warehouse, then I integrate a lot of data from different source systems, and that is my purpose there. But here, it's about giving away the data for consumers. So that's the different focus. And I'm not reporting accuracy in data. I'm talking about giving a sense of direction to the business where I'm going. Am I doing right? Or can I do something different to achieve what I want in a future few years? So that's the kind of a question. So it means we are not talking about traditional thing like BI where you have fixed requirements. The questions could be like, why not? Why not do it where the data is, right? So it's something that architecturally you need to think many ways. One is, all the years we did, what we did is, we integrated the data and then we thought that, okay, we have the data now. Where is my customers other than BI? So how can I leverage? The business looking at, because of a competition, they want to leverage the data, but the IT is blocking the data. So that's what I'm experiencing in all the bigger companies. So they're kind of a blockers rather than enablers. So that's the point of view I'm coming from. So when I say enabling the data, it means you have to open up. I will say, give me an emergency exit. Get into the data warehouse. Just give me in the production. So the way I look at it is, you need to kind of a key aspect, the way I look at it from CIOs or CDOs perspective, this is where they boil down to, these four things. Their key priority still today. So data preparation and discovery is still priority for them, highest priority. You see, we have been working for 2 decades, still this problem is existing. So that's something is really, really strange, because I'm working in this industry for a long time, but still the same problem, preparation. It takes a hell of a lot of time, if you guys understand what I mean, to prepare the data. Because when I put data science team in front of the customers, all they need is give me a bunch of data and compute. Then I'll get started. But you don't give me. You take months or weeks to even get to the data and understand what it is. So if I don't understand, how will I be productive? I'm a data scientist. I just need the data, what I need. I know information, what I need, but you don't give it to me. So that is kind of a data engineering task, you see. And then what happens is data scientist is fed up of and frustrated. They're frustrated by to get this data, what I need to prepare. So it takes few weeks to months sometimes to get even access to the production data. But I cannot work with the test data, period, from a data scientist perspective. I need the data, production data. It's live data today. That's how I look at it to make a progress there. So, and then other areas, see, data integration still is an issue. It's not integration. We are talking about structured data, not even semi-structured data. Still, there is a challenge. And then advanced analytics or customer analytics, AI, for that matter, all of them follows behind. So this is a perspective. So then, now I look at it as just to give this is a background I'm giving. I'm still not getting into the topic now. It's a background. So we need to understand clearly why we need to think different for analytic data warehouse. So in here, if you see the purpose, as I said, integration of data and predictable queries. So my background is primarily data engineering, performance engineering in Teradata and MPP databases. So in here, if you see, we know what kind of a queries that comes from traditional BI, for example. So I can structure my data in that way. So you can consume easily, and you can give a canned reporting, right? But whereas here, in the new analytics era today, it's very important. Everybody knows that it's very, very important to stay at edge, right? So this is something just consume it. I just look at them as a consumers of data. It's nothing else, because I don't change anything in the data warehouse today, right? So it's just a consuming, right? Consumer, other kind of a consumer. BI is another consumer, but I don't know how these guys write the query. Is it something, I don't know, it's unpredictable. If I say customer analytics guys, if I go and dig into them, reverse engineer them, I see that I cannot predict. It keeps changing. It goes. I cannot categorize them as a warm data, or is it a hot data, or is it a cold data, right? I need all of them together to make sense, right? So it's unpredictable. I don't know how to structure in a way that these guys can perform. For example, we do some retail analytics today. They run queries, even in MPP platform. It takes, sometimes it doesn't even deliver. Because of the queries I run from data science team, it doesn't really fit in the structure we have. It's queuing all over the place. So it's not performing. So what I'm trying to say here is, you cannot really predict the structures these guys can need or in future. So you need to look at the architecture differently, not just structuring like in earlier days we work on top-down bill in months or Ralph Kimball approach, right? So that both doesn't fit for us, but it is good to have, but it doesn't fit for us anymore. So, and the purpose, if you see the purpose of these two things, I'm talking about two, analytics and integrated data warehouse, right? So if you see the purpose, it's business performance, where I only care about accuracy, right? So, but here, I don't care about accuracy. I'm just giving a sense of direction. For example, if I need to predict, if I run a store or retail outlets, what I have to see is how probable is that the customer visits going to be more than 1,000 customers in a day. If I do some promotion of products, maybe some shirts or trousers, whatever, right? How could it pull more customers into my store? If I had to predict, I don't know it is correct or it's wrong. I just predict based on what you have. I go into your history of customers visiting earlier and your earlier promotions. Based on your history, then I'll predict, right? Then question could be that what could be different I could do? What kind of a product I should pick so that my optimal customer visits are very high, right? So this is not expected to be accurate. So that's the key thing we need to understand. So if we are just a consumer, I don't really do any change within your data warehouse. So I just be as a consumer. So just give me access. So that's where I'm boiling down to. And if you look at this Forrester Research, I don't know, you can see it from the back. I'm sorry. This is an image. I got it from Forrester Research. So if you look at the top, how it's what it says is the success the technologies achieved over a period of time, where they really achieved the growth ecosystem phase, right? So it took, for example, MPP data warehouse. It took really more than 5 to 10 years for them to reach to the high growth state, right? If you see predict analytics, it took more than 10 years to get to this state. But we understand today it is important, so it's in a peak growth state. That's the reason we got to talk about analytics data warehouse. And see, this is where I'm coming to. See, it's been a lot of thought into this to get to the point. So it's not just structuring information will get me where I want to go. So you need to think a little different. Okay, what should I do different to get this analytics results very agile, and within few weeks you should be able to productionize? That's my goal. I'm working, it's not just a theory I'm talking about. I'm working and proposing this approach with current customers. Already, I'm working on it. So it's a deployment. So the fundamental pillars boils down to these 4. There could be so many other things, but these are the key things you need to address in order to achieve the result we wanted to in the analytics world. So the deployment process. I think, how many of you frustrated with the current deployment process in the bigger companies? Only 2, 4, 5? Then very happy. So it means rest of you guys already deploying it in a continuous integration or something. Is that a right assumption? No? Okay. So okay, in my experience, the deployment process is kind of getting there, but it is not just about deployment process in there. So it's also about how you develop. You topple down the approach actually. What we do today is at the customer side, we work in production. We develop in production. Is anybody developing in production environment? That's the key thing. Key takeaway you should do is, in order to deliver analytics projects in a faster manner, you got to develop in production and production data. That's the key thing you have to understand, because if you don't do that, you are not doing it right. Simple and straight. So I'll tell you why later. And data platform. That is another important thing. Everybody's stuck with different in-prem data platforms. That is also, you need to look at it, because you have so many options today. You got to open your eye outside of the walls within your companies, because you have so many. You have Cassandra, wherein distributed databases over the network, right? You can even over the network, you can still use the same table and it could distribute without you knowing where it is, where it belongs to, right? It can do that. So likewise, you have Hadoop, for people call it data lake. Why do I need data lake? Redundant data. You keep dumping data there and then you had problems. See, the other key thing is you need to understand, first thing is You shouldn't ever duplicate data. The moment you start duplicating data, you're adding a problem. It's not a solution anymore. Those days are gone. There are technologies available where you can leverage the data, only one source of data, and can be used in many ways. For instance, if you keep a data in a production system as an append data warehouse, what happens is you have the data sets, you can point it as of any time. For example, if I need to do analytics, I don't want the live data to just test and discovery phase. I just need last 3 years data. I can point as of last month or as of previous year. You should be able to do that. There is a technology today available without duplicating the production data. So what we do is, in the current environment today, in the bigger companies, it takes really few weeks to replicate data from production to test environment and development environment for analytics projects. Why do you do that? It's removing the production data. You need to take care of so many other things and deassemble the data. Why do you do that? Because all these things happens because the way you structured. Because if I develop in production, why do you need to move the data? Because I just touch your data, my code is working as a separate thing. So why do you need? Because I'm not going to impact anything, whatever it may be. I'm not impact anything at all. I just consume. All I need is compute. Just compute. I don't need anything else. Just give me data. If you ask data science team, okay, what do you need? Give me data where it is and give me a compute. That's it. And for that, we do a lot of problems here to move the data environment to environment in premise. And you need to be cloud. That's the next thing, infrastructure. I'm talking about how many minutes I have? How many minutes do I have? I have to a little bit fast. 10, okay. Infrastructure is, I'm talking about cloud. It could be open thing. So the cloud, you need to be in cloud today. If you're still arguing about cloud, I think you are in a big, deep trouble. So you need to be there in cloud today. It doesn't matter which industry you belong, you need to get there. And organization, yeah, this is another challenge. It's people, right? Organization is people. They don't want to change. And it's also different people, right? Different levels of age group of people. The older people, what the hell are you talking about? I'm just talking about 5 more years sticking around, right? Right? I don't want to change. Why? So this is not just eliminating them. It's about you have to analyze your workforce, what the skills they have. You don't need to relearn many things today. Even with the SQL, you should be able to achieve what you want. It's all about knowing what you're good at, your workforce is good at, and how willing are they at learning. So you need to analyze the current workforce and decide which data platform you choose. So these are all interrelated. But you have options. You don't need to go for Hadoop. If you feel that it's really painful, you don't know these guys talking about, they buy 2 years, 3 years, they explore this data lake, and they have dumped 3 years data. They keep exploring for 3 years, no results, only discovery. They throw up charts, and it works in discovery. When it gets to production, you don't get it. So it doesn't run. So if it doesn't come in few minutes, it doesn't work. That's how I see it. Yeah, I'm coming to this first pillar, deployment. I think you guys know already. So I'm going quick. Deployments takes months. We know that in the current, I'm talking about current BI or any traditional developments. It takes months to get there. Even I'm fighting every day to get it quickly. It's not easy, as we say it. I really mean it. This is really pain. And then completely agile. Agile is not new. It's been there for years, for decades, I would say. So it's not new. But the new thing is analytics, right? I don't know. If you see, I don't know the requirement. Just give me data, I'll find out what I need, right? I don't know what the question you can answer based on your data. I don't know. So you need to give, it's a sense of direction. Okay, go find out what you can do with my data. So just give me access. So what happens is, it's like no or very limited requirement I have. So that itself says, I cannot work in a traditional way, wherein in traditional one, you have a requirement, bunch of pages, very clearly defined. So it doesn't work anymore. So that's another dimension, right? So that is where it's indicative. I just know indicative requirements. And then if you see, my results not expected to be perfect. You see, that's the cool thing, right? Cool thing. You want it 100% right. The users check small font. No, it needs to be 11 size. Or it needs to be this color. Those days is fine. It's for end user. But this is not for that. This is for decision makers who can really understand the sense of direction and make decision on it. And this is again putting into perspective. So I'm not going to traditional, you know the pains. I'm looking at analytics. So the way you start as concerned to deployment, development process, you start in production. You develop we call it labs in production. So I get all the data available in Datawarehouse from the day one. That's how we start. That's the learning today, at least from this session. That's what you need to fight for. And why, if anybody has question, reach out to me. I'm here to answer. So I'm doing it. It's not theory anymore. So production, you need to have a direct exit. It could be lab, or you call it emergency exit. That's a nice catchy word. You could use that. And deliver insight based on your data, because I don't change anything whatsoever in your data warehouse. So I just use it and provide some results. It's very tiny. My result sets are very tiny out of this modeling. I just run a predictive model. On top of your data, I just produce very tiny set. So it's not going to be huge or humongous in data volume. So it could be integrated, but it's the first step is get there and deliver the results. And takes days or weeks. If it takes more than weeks, few weeks, then there is a problem. If we can't, because I don't say that someone's saying fast fail, right? There is no failure in it, actually, to be honest. There is no failure, it's only learning. Only learning. Because that's how you learn. Because you learn, everybody learns in this case. Because nobody knows what I want in this world. So all I know is, I have data, I need to do something. I need to do something that makes different to the business, right? So I don't know how accurate it could be. Well, all I say is, it could be 90% close, or it could be totally crap, right? It could be crap sometime. But move on, you know that it's crap. That's a good state to be in. Then you can improve wherever you are, right? And this is where first, I would say this kind of a slide, you could say first phase analytics from production. So you see, in the central layer, you have a core, data warehouse or data lake, whatever you call. If some new companies having in data lake, structured data, then that's the one. And then you have that semantic layer, we call it. It's a BI serving layer. And then on top of it, this is where my work is, the outer circle, analytics data warehouse layer. So it uses the data. I don't do any changes, just consume data. It could be just views. You expose it to them. And we will use a lot of resources. We need compute. And we just need the data. So that's where we produce some results and we process. So in premise today, it's very difficult. If I run a query, whole production system slows down if I don't manage my workload today. So that's a challenge, right? Because you're stuck with your box, it cannot expand. It can expand only nodes, right? Nodes like that. So I would say explore. You give an emergency exit, that is an explore. and then expose to the users immediately from right there. So I just connect production system straight there, expose to the users, the business users who really want impacted by your results. And then elevate. Elevate, I mean, is you can productionize properly. That shouldn't stop your production users, the business users, to wait for the final delivery. It's all background work you need to do, but you have to deliver is expose them, right? And data platform, so this is how it looks. If I just give an analogy, this is how your data platform looks. If you take this connection away, you put your data platform, this is how my query is coming in production system today, whatever it is, because in a peak hour, if I look at it, it's nothing different than this. So this many queries they have to handle. How do you handle? On top of it, if you go and loop in the analytics data science team, just 5 people, they'll bring it down whole system within few minutes. They can do that. But for that not to happen, you need to be having a right platform. That's the key takeaway here. See, the data science is really, really hard in traditional companies. I don't know why, because of these structures, all this we spoke so far. How many minutes do you have? 5 minutes? I'll take 5 minutes with your permission. A key component. So in the data platform, if I talk about I need data, I need compute, and I need network, that's where I stop. So it means I'm talking about cloud, and I'm talking about that platform that built for cloud kind of an architecture, where they can cut it off, storage and compute clearly, not traditional ones, including Hadoop. They don't go like that. They go like nodes. If I need 50 terabyte, they give you a couple of nodes. Why? It comes with the storage and CPU. Why should I pay for CPU? The compute, right? Because I just need an extra space for my data. But they don't do that because architecturally it doesn't work. So that's key thing we need to understand today. But you have options today to change these things. And data redundancy, as I told you guys earlier, you copy data every time you want to access in a data lake or somewhere else. It adds compute, it adds storage, it adds maintenance problem, and memory and network and so on. It keeps adding for no reason. No reason. We don't have that reason anymore. Infrastructure, so it's a cloud. I think this is how I just see it. Like, you have these small containers. I could talk it as your compute nodes or whatever. You can, if you want to simulate with that. So I think cloud, everybody knows that's how it's splitted. Storage and compute is a clear split. So all I need is, you need how many compute. If I need to start a data science work or analytics work, all I need to do is, if you are in a cloud, just fire a couple of clusters, compute nodes. Then I'm done, I'm with it, and give access to the data. If your data platform supports that. But that doesn't happen today with in-premise or the current, I don't say current, some of the technologies that is legacy, because it is not built that way. An organization, I think this is a key topic. So if I need to conclude in a few minutes, so it's a people and skills. So that's where tools and what you need, right? So you need to know what your people skills are in an organization. That's a key thing. You need to have an really evaluate detail level and what kind of a technology they are familiar with. For example, in a data industry, these are the key things you could think of, like SQL or no SQL. That's it. It looks very simple, right? But it doesn't, because of there's so many sub-technologies within NoSQL world, right? For example, let me take as an example, if you are aging workforce or whatever reason, familiar with SQL, right? Then you have an option. There is a data platform that works petascale or even beyond that. Today you have those options, so you could do that. So these are the things you can keep in mind. You don't need to have NoSQL technologies in order to produce the report in a way you want it. If you don't have those skills, this is a key thing you need to understand. And bringing it all together, right? You need to have a faster deployment process. As I said, it's not just deployment process where you develop, right? And pick the data platform that fits for your workforce, not what others says. Look at your workforce and really evaluate what you have, and then decide. And cloud infrastructure, if you are still arguing, it's not a valid point anymore, so you need to do that. And train or leverage some existing skills, what you have in your workforce. So this is how do I have, yes. Thank you guys. Yeah.